Half my brain tied behind my back just to make it fair. Rush Limbaugh here on the cutting edge with play-by-play of the important things happening in our nation's capital and throughout our country, often as they happen. Man, I'm so jealous of you people. You get to listen to this program. I never get to listen to it. I mean, in the past, that after it's over, you get to listen to this program as it happens. You are so lucky, so fortunate. Here's John in Dayton, Ohio. John, I'm glad you waited. It's great to have you on the program, sir. Hello.
Thank you, Rush. It's a real honor. I want to talk about something other than the circus in Washington for just a moment and address Paul Ryan's opposition to the Jefferson Rule.
I hate to tell you that's a circus too, and but go ahead.
Okay. And I know the media, the mainstream media and Fox basically wants to talk about, how great he is because he wants to be at home with his family and spend more family time. And I could do a sidebar on that from what you mentioned earlier. But my main reason for the call is that his opposition to the Jefferson Rule basically allows him as Speaker to impose unity on a disordered and divided House. The only people that are causing disorder or dividing the House in the eyes of the establishment are the people that are newly elected in the Tea Party base and the GOP base that put these guys in office to do a job that the establishment is not doing. So by eliminating the Jefferson Rule, it's kind of like a stopgap safety measure on behalf of Ryan in the event that a movement candidate like Trump or Cruz be elected to the presidency, that they'll have their man sitting behind him whenever he addresses Congress.
Wait now, run that last by me again. If Trump or Cruz is elected, who will have their man sitting behind him?
Every time the President of the United States speaks to Congress,
right?
The Vice President
I know it'd be Ryan, but who do you mean when you say when the President speaks, they will have their man? That's Ryan sitting behind him. Who is they? Trump or Cruz?
The establishment.
The establishment, right. Opposing Trump and Cruz, right?
Correct.
Okay. You're on to something. I just wanted to clarify. I wanted to make sure. Sometimes people start using personal pronouns and they mean other people of what it sounds like. I just wanted to make sure.
I'm sorry.
No, you're right. Your instincts on this are right on the money. And I want to, folks, this whole Ryan thing hasn't made any sense to me from the first moment I heard about it. Look at this. I'll only do it if you guarantee me unanimous support. I will only do it if you remove the provision that you could recall me. I will only do it if I don't have to travel on weekends. One thing I've learned, Washington is a script. Things do not happen spontaneously. We are made to think they are. That's what the news is every day. But the news, as properly characterized by my friend Andy McCarthy, is actually a daily soap opera, and there's a script. All soap operas are scripted. The news every day is often used to camouflage what is really going on. Now, this is still forming in my mind, and I probably ought not start divulging this. It may just end up confusing you because I haven't nailed it all down. But I've got my instincts, and then I've come across some things that I think are confirming my instincts, and then I'm having to assume some things beyond that. And it's always dangerous when you start assuming. But let me just run some of this by you. I think there was a seminal event in the House of Representatives that happened in 2012 that blew up a lot of plans, and that was Eric Cantor losing. That shocked everybody, as you recall. Cantor was a member of the Republican leadership, and Cantor was moving the donor class agenda. Cantor losing was a huge blow to the leadership's ties to the donor class. And as you and I well know, the donor class runs the Republican Party today, not the voters. Money is important both to get you elected. It's really important after you leave office, when you can have the skids greased for a high-paying job, either a lobbyist or a consultant to a corporation or whatever. But money, I mean, everybody wants more. I don't care how much you have. And the lure of more money is seductive. It just is. And it's always been a factor in politics, and it's always been a major factor. It's just now taken on a dimension that I think has always been there, but it's surfaced now. This cronyism, call it corporate cronyism, socialist cronyism, capital cronyism, whatever, it's visible now. They're not even trying to hide it. It's always existed, but it's worse now than ever because Obama's, he's selling. He's selling support for his radical agenda to corporations who would otherwise be destroyed by the agenda if they didn't give him money and buy insurance against it, such as the hospital, such as the insurance business. Clinton also did this with all those coffees and selling the Lincoln bedroom. Cronyism, it's been around a long time. It's just now that we see it. We see, for example, major corporations supporting an increase in the minimum wage. Can we talk about Walmart for a second? This is not on point here, but it's something my brain synapses just fired on, and it makes the point. Walmart, out of the blue and shocking everybody, supported a Democrat call for raising the minimum wage. They were under pressure from unions to do so. And at the time, I remember pointing out to you, this is a classic example of the kind of cronyism that's taking place now. Walmart, theoretically, has the money to absorb an arbitrary increase in the minimum wage, but their competitors may not. So by associating with the regime, Walmart is able to win business competitions with, say, Costco or others without really having to beat them in the market. You sidle up to government, you get favorable treatment here or there. You agree because you agree with Obama the minimum wage. You're buying protection against something other thing. The other companies can't afford it and don't, and therefore it's more attractive to work at Walmart and so forth and so on. This is, in other words, doing deals with the government alleviates the need to be smarter and better in the market. Same deal goes for agreeing with Obamacare. If you've got the money as a corporation to do whatever Obama wants, fine, but your competitors can't. That's how you beat them. Now Walmart. I had the story in the stack here for 2 or 3 days. Now Walmart's stock price is flat. Their earnings are down. They're blaming the minimum wage increase. Honest to God, they are. They're blaming, and they're right, by the way. I mean, economically, they're right. But they weren't forced into it. I don't believe. Regardless, they're now complaining that their stock price and their earnings, whatever is flat, is because of the minimum wage. And, of course, here come big labors. Oh, when do you lie? You can't lie about that. You got so much. You're kidding me, Walmart. You've got more money than God's got. You're telling me that raising a $5 increase in the minimum wage is hurting you. They're not going to let that stand. In Seattle, though, look at all the restaurants that have closed because of mandatory minimum wage increase. And now in New York City, you've got no tipping permitted. Prices are automatically going up. Restaurants are deciding to eliminate tipping. But anyway, back to this situation here with Eric Cantor. I really believe Cantor being defeated caused drastic action to be necessary. The donor class, if you doubt this, have you paid attention to where Eric Cantor is spending his post-election time? He spends it out in the Hamptons. He's a consultant now for some moneyed institutions or financial institutions. Anyway, Paul Ryan is the new Cantor, in my theory, in terms of moving the donor agenda. And what made me suspicious of this is, again, throw out the Jefferson rule and demand unanimous support. These are the kind of things that you demand when you don't really want the job and you hold all the cards. Now, you would not think that the Freedom Caucus, the conservatives in the House, the Tea Party caucus, whatever you want to call them, no way would they go along with this. No way under the sun would they go along with this. But looks like enough of them will. Now, Ryan said he needs 80% support from the Freedom Caucus, and if he doesn't get that, then he's not going to do this. And right now he doesn't have 80%. He might have 70, but he doesn't have 80. He got a majority. He's got a clear majority of them, but he doesn't have the 80% he said was necessary to equal unanimity. Well, we'll see if that actually makes him not want the gig or not seek it. What are you shaking your head? Yeah, he's already said he'd take the 70. I think that all of this, here's my point. I think that all of this was already arranged and agreed to before you and I heard a word of it. And when you and I first heard a word of it, it was presented as, this just happened. It's happening spontaneously. All of a sudden, they wanted Ryan. These are Ryan's demands. My point is, all of this happened last week, 2 weeks ago, whenever. Long before this list of demands was ever made public. There has been a plan to make Paul Ryan the Speaker of the House. And it's not spontaneous, and it isn't an accident or just the coming together of various unseen forces. Anyway, I got to take a break. I'm not through with this. I've got a little bit more, but now the ground gets a little shakier because what's next is still not sure of it. But I'll share it with you anyway. Sit tight. We'll be back in a moment.